Hello, on behalf of myself and the people here at Makino, I'd like to welcome you to today's Makino Experience Center. Today, we're going to talk about the DA300 Package machine. And we're going to be joined, my name is Bill Howard, I'm the product line manager for vertical machining centers here at Makino. And in a few minutes, we're going to go out in the showroom and we're going to be joined by Mr. Alan Duvall, who's the group team leader for our medical technologies group. So those are the two folks you'll be seeing as we go through. And what we're going to do literally is walk you around and kind of show you the DA300 and the features and how it operates. So if you were to have one, you would know how to run the machine. As we're talking today, over to the right-hand side, you'll see a chat box with a Q&A. If, while we're talking, you have some questions that come up, if you type those in that little box there and send those at the end of the session, we'll be able to address as many of those questions as possible. Let me make the screen small again. Okay. We're actually coming to you today from the Makino Mason headquarters building. We actually have two experience centers here. This is Experience Center number 1. We have another one down the hall, Experience Center number 2. There are also two experience centers at our Auburn Hills facility in Auburn Hills, Michigan. So, just a little commercial, if you will. If you're looking to have a focused, directed, confidential, team-to-team meeting, our folks and your folks. So it allows us to get more folks involved from our side, more folks from your side, without the dollars and travel and time. We can talk about a machine, we can talk about a part, an application, we can talk about automation. So just keep that in the back of your mind that, again, these experience centers, both at Mason and Auburn Hills, are available to use to meet confidentially, directed, focused with your team. I'm going to take a couple minutes here just to introduce you to the DA300 package. This is what the machine looks like. And basically what we've done is we've got a new integral chuck that sits in the table of the machine. And in case you don't know, the DA300 is a tilt rotary 5-axis machine. So we have an integrated chuck which provides a new pallet interface for the machine. We have automation, as you can see, on the front of the machine. There happens to be 40 pallets out there. So now you have the ability to have 40 different work pieces or pallets. Actually have multiple sides on some of those pallets. We can control all this. You think about 40 pallets. Somehow I need to have control over what one's where and in priorities. So there's an integrated cell controller, and it's a fixed configuration in that it's not only 40 pallets, but it also has an expanded tool magazine, ATC 118 tools. This is a little quick video just to give you an idea. You'll see here, that's the automation portion there in the front, the 40 pallets with a load-unload station. And then you'll see the dual ring ATC magazine providing 118 tools. So that's what we're going to, I mean, we could stand in here and look at slides all day, but I think it's much more beneficial. We're going to transition out to the showroom. Alan's out there waiting for us with the DA300. So let's all take a walk out to the showroom. Okay, Alan, what do you say we start with a pallet?
Sounds good. Let me go ahead and unload a pallet for you. There's a pallet for you, Bill.
Alrighty. Basically, the pallet is one of the unique features of this machine. The top part of this pallet's an HSK A125, so you can mount your work to that. You can see there's already some pre-machining done there so that you can mount your workpiece right to that.
Yep, and you can also get pallets that are have no machining on them and that are blank.
So the HSK A125, let's flip it over and take a look at the other side. Number one, you'll notice that large diameter, 125 millimeter diameter HSK. So when we interface to the integral clamp mechanism in the machine, we'll be sealing on that surface there. The other thing is there's a large HSK surface there. The polygonal taper, that goes down into the table and that actually clocks the pallet rotarily. So that gives us very good repeatability basically on the A axis. Down inside of that polygonal taper is an HSK A63. So we literally reach up in there, grab that and pull down and clamp. So as we're pulling down, the polygonal taper is clocking us this direction, and then the HSK 63A pulls us down to get a full solid side face relationship with the underside of the pallet. Gives us outstanding stiffness and rigidity and repeatability to about plus or minus 3 micron, both radially and height-wise.
A couple other features on the pallet. Point out on the bottom side, we've got 3 different pin locations for poke yokings to prevent misloads. 1 for in the machine and 2 here for at the load station. So prevent operators from misloading a pallet when they're loading them into the system.
Very good.
Do we want to talk about the interface on the machine itself?
Yeah, we'll talk about that next.
Yeah.
Now that we've talked about the pallet, what we're going to see is a pallet change. You'll see the robot shutter opening there. If you're looking down there into the basically the throat of the machine, there's the pallet coming in. It goes down into the polygonal taper receiver on the C axis and clamps, and then the door closes. So that completes a pallet change.
Nice thing with this pallet interface is we don't have any rubber seals to go bad because it's an actual interference contact. So you have a
Face surface
seal, built with no coolant or chip intrusion.
We're going to also show you while we're here, pallet being changed out. Again, the robot shutter opens. There comes the robot in. We're going to unclamp the polygonal taper, pick the pallet up, go out through the door, and there you go. So that completes a pallet load and a pallet unload cycle. Okay, Alan, now that we've seen the pallet and the interface and how it works with the machine, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you load and unload pallets and keep this system busy?
Here's a work set station for the DA300 package. Here's a work set station door and the operator panel. Here I'm going to call up a pallet to the load station. See the robot's going to pull a pallet in. And this cylinder here is a representation of the maximum part size for this system. So here you can see the maximum work size on an actual pallet at the work set station. Maximum height is going to be 285 millimeters or approximately 11.2 inches on the first 4 layers. The top layer you're going to be at 300 millimeters or approximately 11.8 inches in height. Both throughout the entire system, maximum diameter is 360 millimeters, so approximately 14 inches in diameter. So you can see a very large work envelope on the pallet. Maximum weight on the pallet is 60 kilograms or 132 pounds. While the machine is operating, you can be loading and unloading parts, and it will not allow you to access the machine while things are moving, but as soon as the machine has stopped moving, you can now access the system. Another nice thing with the system is it will automatically unload and bring parts to the work set station as they're complete. So your operators don't have to worry about searching like I was doing here. Here on the left-hand side of the door, we have a placard that shows the maximum work size and which pallets have the 285 millimeter height restriction for easy reference. So your operators can easily look and reference this when they're loading jobs. This will also show a diagram of the pallet numbers and their locations.
The way it's laid out, we wanted to maximize the number of pallets, but we wanted to minimize the floor space. So if you look in there, there's actually 8 pallets on a layer, we call it a layer, and then there's 5 layers. So 8 times 5, that gives you 40 pallets. And because the roof is at the top, that allows the 285 millimeter and the lower 4 layers, and then the taller pallets, those go into the upper layer. So there's the potential to have 8 pallets in here that are 300 millimeter tall.
We're going to go ahead and load a multi-station fixture into the machine so we can look better at the clamp and unclamp mechanism. Now, as I mentioned before, once this door is open, the robot and machine can continue on machining. So we can be loading parts like this multiple station fixture, yet still be changing pallets in and out. Here you can get a better view of the actual rotation mechanism here. See, it locks very, very firmly in place at 90-degree increments. It has sensors built in, so it will only allow you to close the door when the pallet is in the right orientation. If we go ahead and unlock the pallet and unload it, as we mentioned earlier, you can see these are the 2 pins that prevent or misload. These are your pins here. If I go ahead and load that pallet in incorrectly, it will not seat until those pins are lined up. Another key feature with the workset station is part seat confirmation. So we have a laser that comes down and actually measures if there's a part in this location or not. And that is throughout the entire system, so it can see which pallets are loaded and if the workset station is loaded. You'll also notice the light up top here. That operator light will actually turn on and off as the door closes, so your operators don't have to remember to turn on and off the light. Same thing with the pallet clamping. Once this door closes, the machine will automatically clamp the pallet, so your operators don't have to remember to clamp the pallet every time that they load it in. So it's very safe, very user-friendly.
Okay, now that we've talked about the work set station and we've talked about the layout of the 40 pallets, why don't we kind of walk around the front of the machine and give you a view, if you will, of the layout of those 40 pallets. Another attribute of the DA300 package machine is the tooling. What we've done, the standard DA300 has a 60 tool drum. So what we've done here, as you can see, there's the standard 60 that is standard on the machine. We've added a secondary 60. So there's a primary and a secondary. 60 and 60 would give you 120, but we got to have an opening to move tools back and forth. So it ends up with 118 tools. The unique thing about this is the inner drum and the outer drum can change directly to the tool change position to the spindle. So there's actually a little shutter that runs from the outer magazine to the tool change position. You might say, well, what's that do for me? What that does for you is it makes, even though there's 118 tools here, it makes the seek and search times virtually identical to what an ATC 60 machine would be. So there's no downside penalty on lost production. Makino has equipped the DA300 and the DA300 package machines in many of our production verticals with Vision BTS. In the past, you took production time to actually check the tool in the work zone. So what Vision BTS does is as you bring the tool into the work zone, it takes a digital image of that tool. You can compare it to the tool length, tool diameter that's stored resident in the control against that tool. It checks it on the way into the work zone and it checks it on the way back from the work zone. So if you come in there with a drill and drill a bunch of holes, and on the way back you check the tool and all of a sudden it's broken, that prevents you from coming in there with a tap and trying to tap a bunch of blind holes. Keep in mind also that we offer, for those applications where you have to measure tool length, tool diameter, you're doing contouring, detailed work, we offer as an option a laser ATLM on a little pop-out stand that you can actually do tool length, tool diameter, measure it in process, as well as we can equip the machine with a spindle probe. And not only here can you use the spindle probe for finding the corner of a workpiece or setting offsets, this machine, 5-axis, you can also use it in order to determine center of axis rotation in order to set your axes. Alan, could you come in here and show us how you load and unload tools to this, particularly since there's actually 2 ATC 60 drums?
All right, let's go ahead and talk about how we would load and unload tools. Great thing with this tool changer is we have 2 locations where we can load tools for both rings. We can load tools while the machine's running without stopping the machine. If the machine requests a tool, it will actually pause until you're done. So you're not having to load tools through the spindle. You can keep production running. You can be changing broken tools out, all while you're just making parts. So here, to open the door, we're going to select which magazine we want, either magazine 1 or magazine 2, which is going to be the left or the right hand side. We're going to hit the handle button and then the door unlock button. We can open up the door to access the tool changer. While the handles button is pressed, if we know what tool we want, we can actually type it right in here and search for that, and it will bring that tool to the load position. So for instance, type in 120, we'll go ahead and hit search. It's going to bring that tool from whichever ring it is located in into that location. And now open the door. Grab the tool for loading and unloading tools. You can pull that tool out, go change that. Bring it back in, load that tool in, close the door, press the handle button, and we're back to machining. On our second magazine, the one on the left-hand side, do the same thing. The operation for loading a tool is just a little bit different. All the same steps, open the door, but we have a crank handle to load and unload tools. We simply crank the handle in, it grabs the tool, pulls it out, crank the handle back, and it puts the tool back in. So once I've loaded a tool, you have this button here, it's called Edit Tool Data. I can load all my information for that tool back here at the panel without having to go up to the front of the machine and type information in the control. So I can have my tool cart sitting here, I can be loading tools, typing all the information in. If I'm using a presetter, I can type in all my lengths, I can tell it what type of tool, I can set, do I use through spindle coolant, I can set spindle loads, I can put notes, a multitude of information. I can set my tool life, I can set my spare tools back here. So very, very powerful panel to have back here for running automation. Just a handy feature to have is, let's say you're running production and you have some broken tools. Instead of having to identify which tools are broken and physically call them up, we have this handy alarm tool search button that we'll press. If we press that, it will bring an alarm tool up to the operator position so we can manually unload that. Then once that's done, I can reset my tool life here at this interface and get back to machining. So let's go up to the front of the machine here. We'll take a look at how we control the whole system from the control. On the machine, we have software set up to bring and tie everything together, all the different technologies. So to tie in automation, to tie in pallet ejection for tool breakage, everything can be done here at the control and at the pallet station. So all of our tooling can be managed here on the control, just like on a standalone machine. Nice thing is now, with the package machine, we have an interface where we can view all the different pallets, view their status, we can look at the order they're set up to machine, We can assign programs to run from that particular pallet. We can express a pallet, as in send it to the top of the list. We can suspend a pallet so that it doesn't run. We can change the machining order we've already established. And we can look at where pallets are in the system. So let me go through the page here and just give you a brief rundown of this. So here you can see a representation of the actual pallet magazine in a tiered system. So you can see the pallet numbers that are associated. If I click on one of those pallets, it's going to show me my program information, what program's assigned to it. Any information about that pallet is stored here. So I can click on any of those pallets. You'll notice that there are different colors on some of these pallets, and that represents different statuses of those pallets. An example of those different colors is here. Green shows that it's ready. It's ready to machine. It has material set up on the pallet. Machining finished is going to show up as orange. That's going to mean it has been in the machine, it's machined, it's ready for a part to be removed. A pallet that shows up as blue means that's the pallet that's in the machine currently being machined. Yellow, as you can see on pallet 12 here, shows that that pallet is suspended, as in even if it is ready to run, we're saying we don't want that pallet to run. So maybe you're setting up the next job to run, you can set it all up, get material loaded, and suspend those pallets, so when you're ready to run that next job, you can just simply click on that pallet and turn it to ready, and it'll machine. A pallet that shows up white is waiting setup. A pallet that shows up red is going to be a pallet or a face alarm. And what either a pallet or face alarm would be is, let's say you had a tool break. So we talked earlier about the Vision BTS. And tool breakage. Machine also has tool life, so if a tool runs out of life and breaks, and the Vision BTS catches it or the laser catches it, it will automatically eject that pallet, flag that pallet red, and then move on to the next pallet and use sister tooling. So that's what types of alarms that you could see on a pallet for being red. And then the little airplane icon, which we can see here on 12, is express, and that means move that to the absolute top of the list. Now, how do we look at what is ready to be machined and what is in order? We can look here. This is just a brief snapshot. This shows our pallets an order that they're going into the machine. This shows what's in the ready station, ready to go in the machine, and what's in the actual machine. So we have nothing in the machine, pallet 26 in the buffer, ready to go in the machine, and 33, 11, 10, and 9 are next in order. If I want to change that order, after I've gone and readied those pallets, I can come here to our Edit Machining Order button, and I can just simply click and move that up or down in the order. I can change my order that way. Very simple. Another area you can see here is this would show the area for what is going into the set station next. So what parts have been complete and are coming to your work set station, and what that order is. Another neat feature of the software is how we can identify pallets for operators. Each pallet, if you click the Show Image button, we can actually upload a JPEG file and create notes on that pallet for identification. So it's easy for the operators to click a pallet, know what it's supposed to be, know where a particular job is. In addition to this graphic user interface here, we also have a list where you can look at it in a different view. All of this is customizable, so you can have more detailed information or less detailed information. So it gives you different options. So this is where you're gonna start setting up your jobs. Now, if we want to actually operate the system, it's a very simple to get the system started. We simply come up here to our My panel, we turn on random mode, and we hit random start. And that's going to put the machine in, tell the machine we're ready to start machining parts. And it will then look at the machining order and load the first pallet in and start cutting. Now, once the machine is in operation, you won't be doing much on this side of the panel. Once a job is set up, and jobs are set up, and you're just changing parts in and out. That's when your operators will be mostly working from the interface panel at the workset station. So now we'll go ahead and move over to the workset station operation panel, and I'll go over that in depth. So now we're at the workset station operation panel. So after we've set programs up on the control, we can now operate the machine from here. This is where we're going to load parts, unload parts, load in pallets, unload pallets. We can also from this page suspend, express, and call up individual pallets as needed. Starting at the top, here, this shows what pallet is actually on the table of the machine. This is current statuses. This shows what pallet is in the workset station. This pallet shows what is in buffer 1, which is the incoming pallets, and buffer 2 is the outgoing. Top shows if we have an emergency stop, alarm, a warning, or we're in maintenance mode, so the operators don't have to go back to the control to see the state of the machine. This also shows the status of if we're at origin or if the workset lock is on or not. Say I wanted to call a pallet up to the workset station. Simply, I'll type the number in, hit enter, and hit the search button, and the system's going to bring that pallet here to the workset station. Now we can see it shows pallet 22 in the workset station. From there, if we want to access the part, we hit workset station door unlock, and it's going to provide us a prompt. If the system was moving and we were not able to open the door, it would be flashing and would not allow us in the machine to be able to rotate that door until the machine has stopped moving. So it will grant us permission to go in. Once that door is open, the machine will then take off and continue running. So now that we've got the pallet, that we want to work on, either remove, add a new one, change parts out. Simply, if we want to unlock the pallet, we have workset pallet unlock. That's going to unlock, so we can pick the pallet and take the pallet out. We can turn on or off our light, which automatically turns on when we pull the pallet in. But most of the time, what you're going to use is this information right here. This will show you the status of the pallet. And then here you have your ready button. So as you can see, we've got parts that have already been machined. We would remove these parts, and it would have a button here that says remove parts. We would press that. It would then turn the pallet into a waiting pallet. Then once I've loaded material onto this pallet, I can hit this ready button. You can see the green light turn on, and that indicates to the system that this pallet has material and we're ready to run. It's as simple as that. Unload the part and hit ready. When I'm done, I close the door and I hit finish. The system is automatically going to remove that pallet and send that pallet back to where it was and pull our next pallet that is in the queue on the workset station. To see what that queue is, we can look up top. Just like on our work data page, we can see our order. It just shows us a preview of the next 5 going into the machine, or MC order, and work set station order. So for right now, nothing is scheduled or queued up to come to the work set station. So if I wanted to call another pallet to, let's say, load a new job, I can type in, say, 7 and hit search. It would bring that pallet in. While the system's running, if I try to open the door, see, it's not going to let me open the door until it has completed its task. I can set my job up, add stock, hit ready. Now, if this pallet I did not want to run, I can hit the suspend button from here and suspend it. Shows up with a little yellow star here. Also, if I wanted to express this to move it to the very top of the list, I can hit the express button and it would express that, turn the express on for that particular pallet. You can only have one express pallet in the system as it makes it the top priority. One other area we have here is under various mode is we can turn on random mode, and we also have what's called auto change mode and work set station auto transport mode. Work set station auto transport mode means it will automatically bring a completed part to the work set station. If you don't want the system to do that, you can turn that off. Auto change mode tells it to automatically eject a pallet if a tool breaks or if there's a machine alarm. If you want to leave, let's say you have a tool break on a part and you want an operator to physically come over and inspect that at that time, you can turn off auto change mode and it won't auto eject. So your operators, when they're running the system, once it's set up initially, most of your work is going to be at the operation panel here and at the tool change panel.
Alan, thank you very much for joining us today. Hopefully we've provided you some basic, good, solid information about the DA300 package, the productivity of that machine, and the system. I'd like to thank you for joining us today. And at this point in time, we'll take a look at your questions and we'll try and answer as many of those questions as we can, time provided that we have here. The other thing I'd like to remind you is, this will be posted to www.makino.com. So at some point in time in the future, if you have folks you want to show this to, that you'll be able to find it there. So again, thank you very much.
Okay, we had a couple questions, well, one in particular that just came in, and it was asking, is it possible to install a camera on the workset station in order to make a digital comparison of the raw part in the clamping situation? Is it possible? Yes. Obviously, development in order to have that software to be able to identify accurately the part and configuration and what it's used, and what parts that raw material will be used. Keep in mind there is a laser there that's detecting part presence, so we know that there's a part presence. So as I said, it would be a development to develop that software to identify the unique raw materials or finished parts that you would see and encounter at the workload station. There was another one come in about the specs on the spindle. The specs on the spindle are identical to the DA300 machine. It's a 20,000 RPM. Alan, do you remember the power torque?
Not off the top of my head, but I can get that for us.
Yeah, and I can email that to you. I, we were talking more about the package machine and not so much about basic machine specs, so I can get that back to you. There was a question also about pallets. There's actually two types. One of them's the standard pallet that has the drilled and tapped holes. Alan, why would people want a plain or blank pallet?
So if for a blank pallet, that would allow you to machine your own bolt pattern in. So if you had a standard type of fixturing that you wanted to machine that mounting features pattern into the pallet, you could do that. You could modify those pallets to meet any of your requirements, being blank for the fixturing that you have.
Okay. Another question here was about, will the automation package, the DA300 can it be shared between machines? The answer to that is no. This is developed and designed and built to specifically serve a DA300 machine. So it's not, cannot be shared between various machines. So another question here on pallets. There's 40 pallets there, and the question was, how much information can I have about those pallets? Obviously, we have the red, green, yellow, all that, but the system actually allows us to go in and identify different pallets, different programs on different sides of the pallet. So, Alan, how's that done in the control where they set that up?
Yes, so you would actually set that up for different side machining on the actual control interface itself. Where you would assign those individual pallets. It would be essentially like having a sub pallet for each pallet.
Yeah. So then you could actually have an op1, an op2, an op3.
Have multiple different ops.
And the system actually monitors and can keep track of the multiple sides.
Correct.
So another thing to think about, there was a question about unattended machining. That's the whole idea here. If you think about 40 pallets, we could load this thing up, walk away Friday night, and this thing could run all weekend potentially. So again, it depends on your cycle time per pallet.
Yep.
There was a question also about the controller. The controller, as you can see, is very self-contained. You have the control on the machine, and then you have like a sub panel out where the load unload station is at. So that allows you to do all the data entry and building the files you need on the machine control. And then when it gets down to operating the system, you move over to that sub panel at the work set station, right?
Correct.
Okay. Just there was a question over about the spindle characteristics. This is number one, it's 20,000 RPM. It's an HSK A63. It's 29.5 horsepower peak, 14.75 horsepower continuous. There's about 67 to 70 foot-pounds peak and about 20 foot-pounds continuous. So that gives you an idea there of the capability of the machine, and it's identical to the standalone DA300. Another question, can the magazine still rotate when you have a tool removed? I assume here you're talking about the tool magazine. Typically what happens in order to remove a tool from that magazine, you put the magazine in manual control. So you now have control of the magazine. The machine can keep cutting. The spindle can keep cutting. But because you have control of the magazine, number one, it's not going to rotate unless you rotate it manually. And number two, the machine cannot call it up and ask it to get a tool. So if you should run out of the cutting time on the tool in the work zone, it's going to sit and wait till you turn the magazine, till you get out of there, turn the magazine back over to the machine. So Can the magazine rotate when you have control of that. You are manually in control of that. So you can rotate the magazine to bring up a different tool and therefore be able to maintenance many tools. But you keep in mind, you have control of the magazine. When you're done maintenance and tools, you close the door, you hit the button, and now you take it out of manual and turn it back over to the machine. I think we're kind of running long on questions, but what I'd like to remind you, if you've come to this Experience Center, you should be getting an email with a link. So that link will allow you to watch this again. If you have folks in your company that you think would benefit from watching this, you can share that. Also, this will be posted to the Makino archives at www.makino.com. And as we talked about in the beginning, we have the ability with the EC centers here to do a very focused, directed, confidential meeting with you and your team to talk about the DA300 package machine. So thank you again very much for being here today, and have a great rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you.